Hey everybody, Ron from Back in the Fairway here, and I'm really excited to actually be trying this video. This is my first attempt at a round recap for you guys. I was able to sneak out to Echo Falls today for a quick 9 and used my golf pad GPS here to get some screen captures and things like that to hopefully make this a little bit interesting and a little graphical for you rather than me just sitting here spewing off what happened and things like that. But anyway, to make a long story short, hopefully right here will be the first hole. Anyway, so starting off the round, walked onto the tee box cold as usual and ended up hitting an all iron day today was my primary goal. I was going to leave all the woods and hybrids in the bag and just go with 3 irons to 5 irons off the tee and work my longer clubs on approach. And it, for the most part, it seemed like a pretty successful day. Starting off on the first hole, really rough start to the round. Kind of caught a 3 iron that was a little, we'll call it a bladed fade, and left the face open quite a bit on that one, which really cut the ball over towards the trees into the side hill. It did kick back down a little bit towards the fairway, but it wasn't really dead on. And it was very short because it didn't have any height because it was so low. So anyway, that one about 140 yards off the tee there led me to a very difficult side hill lie for my second shot. I decided to pull a 6 iron out for that one at about 190 yards. Probably should have clubbed up one more club for that shot just because I did have that side hill where my feet were well below the ball, and it did create a little bit of a problem choking up a little bit on the club. Another 10-15 yards, I probably could have had the green, but that said, the 6 iron did come out of there very well, about 190 yards, or 170 yards, I'm sorry, and it just came up just short of the green. Then a quick pitch on with my gap wedge 50 degree, and one putt got me out of the first hole with a par. So that was a great little start to the round after that opening tee shot was such a mess. The second hole is a big uphill par 4. It's really not very long. Plays about 275, 280 usually. The trick to this one though is that it's about a 50-foot incline from the tee box to the green. So hitting a 3 iron off the tee here, not the best move, but I did hit a really stellar shot off of the tee box there, about 200 yards up the hill. Left me a nice little comfortable sand wedge to the front of the green, and a quick 2-putt got me out of there with another par. So it was moving along pretty well, and things were going pretty darn good so far. The third hole was definitely one that needed a little bit more help. This one was a tough call to make coming off of the tee box with a 3 iron. If it carries about 200, I should be able to clear the water. If it doesn't carry 200, it's going to be in the water. And the line that I take on this hole is a little bit of a fade, so I do lose quite a bit of distance off of iron shots on this hole. So that said, I did pull the 3 iron and I managed to hit a beautiful cut fade, nice and high. The wind held it up just enough, and it came to rest about 35 yards short of the green, which left me about 38 yardish right to the hole, and I managed to pop off an absolutely perfect shot, which I unfortunately then missed about a 6-foot putt for birdie, but I did escape with a par. That moves us on to the fourth hole, and the fourth hole is a downhill par 5, playing roughly 415, 420 if I'm not mistaken, maybe even a little bit longer than that, maybe closer to 440. But anyway, coming down the hill off of that with a 3 iron represented no problem. Again, hit a nice high cut fade. There was a lot of wind coming back at me on this hole. It seems to be, if I'm remembering my orientations correctly here on the course, it seems to be a north to south wind on that course primarily. When you're out of the trees, you can definitely feel it. So anyway, hitting that 3-iron off the tee there, got about 235 yards out of it down the hill. Very, very sleek shot, I guess I would call it. Up to the right and then down. Really, really, really nice positioning for the second shot. The second shot was really a tough one on this hole because you are going downhill a little bit, but it's still a long shot. So I had about 202 yards into the green, and I didn't feel that I could hit a cut 5 through the tree to the left and get it to the green. So I opted to lay up a little bit with a 7-iron and draw it back towards the flag, which was the good play there. I still think that was definitely the way to go on that one. I could have maybe pulled off the 5-iron, but I would not have had the distance with a 6 to get there. And honestly, with the 6-iron going at the green where I would be drawing it in, there's not a whole lot of gimme room down there once you hit into that area, and it could easily go up into the bunkers to the right. So I played it safe, left it a little short, hit a nice little gap wedge chip about 20 yards right up to the middle of the green, where I managed to sink a perfect putt to make my first birdie of the day. That took me to 1 under. That brings me over to the par 3 fifth. Playing about 165, 170 today, depending on which direction of the tee box you go from. I hit a beautiful 8-iron straight in there, 162 yard carry into the wind. Couldn't have hit the ball any better. It was right where I wanted to put it. It was dead on. Still about 40 feet to the flag. I just didn't want to mess with the bunkers to the right at all. So with the wind up like that, it would be easy for the ball to hang and then land right into one of those. So instead of that, I hit a beautiful cut fade from the left-hand side of the green to the right, and it managed to work itself out just fine. A 2-putt for a par there as well, so I'm still 1 under after 5. So the round is going really well at this point. The pace of play was really, really quick today, so I think that really helps my game personally. So that's a good thing. Moving on to the 6th hole, there's a little bit of a break between the holes here. 5, you got to go down and around, and then a crosswalk, and then back up to the tee box for 6. But once I got there, I hit another 3-iron, and this was definitely the best one of the day that I hit. It is a downhill hole, so I did get an extra probably 10 yards of roll on this one, but it was a perfectly struck iron. Beautiful little fade. Started down the left side of the fairway, rolled perfectly into the middle, and just kept going down. About 257 yards on that one. That left me a really tough choice at that point, was to go for the green or lay up just short. After the 7-iron I hit on 4 was just flawless, I decided the little bit of downslope that I was on, let's play the 7-iron again, leave it out just a little tiny bit short of the green, but not have any of the trouble around the green that would normally get into play there. So I hit a beautiful 7-iron just down to the front. Was able to chip it with a lob wedge from about, I want to say about 50 yards, and nail the flag stick basically, and ended up with about a 6-foot putt for birdie, which I don't know how I did this, but it dropped. So first 3 holes par, par, par. The second 3 holes I went birdie, par, birdie, and that takes us to our final closing holes for the front side. And the par 3 7th, which is kind of the bane of my existence at that course. No matter what I seem to do, I cannot birdie this hole. I've gotten darn close a few times, and the putts break funny, or the pin placement is wonky, and I just can't get to the hole from where I land. But that's one of those tough holes that it plays uphill. But it's relatively flat because you kind of start off high, you drop down, and then you come back up to the green. So it's just one of those holes that plays very difficult for me. Normally, if the pin's back, it's a strong 7-iron. If the pin's up, it's a firm 8-iron. It spaces out really well for me. Today, I just managed to not catch an 8-iron as well as I needed to. About 140 yards, the wind caught it and brought it back and dropped it right in front of the green. Had about a 30-yard pitch all the way back to the flagstick. That definitely didn't go as planned, but fortunately the pitch did check up. It held the green well and left me about 6 feet for a par. Somehow, I won't even take credit for this putt, but it was bouncing around and it found the hole, so I'm going to take that one. There was definitely no skill involved, and there was definitely very, very little, actual technique involved in making that par, because it was an ugly, ugly hole from start to finish. But again, just like the tee shot on the first, it's a par. Let's move on. And that takes me to the 8th hole, which once again, I don't know what it is about Echo Falls, but when I play the front side, the closing 3 holes on that course just beat me up a little bit. And the final 3 holes on the 18, 16, 17, and 18 do the same thing. So it's like I have 6 holes of ease and then a 3-hole stretch that's really, really difficult for my game. Then I have 6 holes of ease and another 3 holes that are really difficult for my game. I think a lot of it is the fact that normally with driver off the tee or a hybrid, I'll be playing right to left shots, and most of the course sets up for that. But when you get into these closing holes, they flip-flop. They go a lot more left to right, which is it's a lot less of a power play for me, so that does make it a little tougher. But moving forward, the 8th hole, I hit a stellar tee shot right down the center with a 3-iron. Found a perfect little landing area. Had almost nothing between me and the green. Beautiful little gap wedge from 120-ish out. Found the stick high, and just about 25 feet or so, ran it right up to the hole, tapped in for a par, and that was the 8th. So we've got par on 7, par on 8, and we move to the 9th, and I'm just moving the map over to that. I do want to take a minute and show you these maps on this, if we can get it without a reflection here. Anyway, I'll have the maps hopefully up here so you can see everything. But so a 3-iron off the tee there, absolute perfection once again. I hit it about as well as I could. 311 on a little fade cut, totally perfect. I can crank it the other way and usually get more distance out of it, usually about the 230 to 250 range. The issue there is that on these holes that are a little bit tighter, the whole point to going to it is that I don't get into trouble, and pulling that draw out with the 3-iron can often lead me into a little bit more of a hook. So to stay away from that, I definitely was playing cuts today. It gets the ball up nice and high. Same time, that was also an issue with the wind on those holes where, the wind was a factor. Moving forward from the tee box, though, perfect little 211-yard shot right down the middle. That was followed up by a absolutely gorgeous pitching wedge into the green. It was about 10 yards longer than it needed to be, but it was much, much better than hitting into that uphill green and coming up way short. That led me to a nice little, I want to say, probably about a 35-foot putt. Let me see if I've actually got the stat on here. It doesn't show the break. So the problem with this app, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can really see it, if you want to call it a negative, is right here you will see the putt go down away from the hole and then back to the hole. But what actually happened with this is the putt went around the hole and then it went down to where the break was. So while it's neat to have that, and actually let me go ahead and capture this really quick, and I'm going to add this to the picture screen right here. But what you can see from this is that the tracking software doesn't know if it was a straight line putt or if it went near the hole and broke away from the hole. And that's the problem with some of the software, doing its thing. The first putt was actually much, much closer than it looked. But because of the slope of the green, it ran by the hole and left me a very difficult par putt to finish. Fortunately, that 10-footer dropped, and I want to say 10-footer, but it may have actually been a little bit longer than that. It clocked in at 18 feet on the app. I'm not sure if that was dead on, solid, perfect at distance, but if it was, that's a heck of a way to finish out 9 holes. But anyway, that takes me out to par on 7, 8, and 9, which gets me to 34 for the front side, so 2 under par. And overall, iron testing was definitely a success today. I really can't wait to do a what's in the bag for you, and I may even start that process here real soon just to get that rolling. So if you see this look in another video real quickly, you'll probably see this in the what's in the bag one. If not, I'll get to that one next week and get that all hammered out. I'm looking outside hoping that maybe tomorrow's weather will hold well enough for me to get out for another round. Is there any, throwing that out there, is there anything anybody would like to see on the course? I've tried for 2 rounds in a row now to kind of do my thought process behind the hole, since I don't really have the ability to shoot a 9-hole round on video. But if there's something that looks good to you, let me know, and I will see what I can do about putting one together for you. In the meantime, don't forget, hit the subscribe button down below here, and also click that little bell icon. That's going to let you know when I post new videos like this. And again, this was my round recap from today. Hopefully you got a little bit of interest out of it. I would love to do more of this type of thing if anybody's interested in seeing it. And if not, no big deal. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.